Hello boys and girls, welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity. We are in the Black something Inn in Gilded Vale. Let's try again with Pascha.
Gods keep you.
Yeah, I'd like a room, please. What does it cost? What? Well, I take it. Can we camp in the common room then? Lasts for 2 rests. I don't have that much money. Camping supplies. How much money do I have? I think I have nothing but money for some camping supplies, and I won't spend them because I still have some camping supplies. Okay, so okay. Well, if we can't have a room, then let's talk at least.
Well met, friend.
Looking for work. I don't exactly mean to work. To know more about the Black Hound. Really well, let me see. The actual building's been here for years, but the Black Hound's fairly new. We've got a lot of new faces too, fewer than we used to, I'll admit. Used to work the tables actually. Until the old owner up and left. Nobody's sure what happened to him, even left his poor hound behind. That's the name, see, the Black Hound. Aha. It's still sitting upstairs, pining after him, poor old girl. Serve any porridge? Why would I want porridge? Okay, farewell. No, it's so funny. Okay, let's see the folks here. Villager.
Right.
The food's been awful lately. I think rats have gotten into the larder. Anyone seen Pearly? Pearly is the one killed by the bear, isn't it? Well, I could tell him. And here is a fellow Orlan. Hello. I just carry the dishes. You'll want to talk to Pascha at the counter there. Oh, okay. What happened here? Look at this. Such a mess. I wish we had some minstrels in here. So blighted. Drunkard. And who are you then? Another fool to come answer Redrig's invitation? Actually, Our great lord had my sister run out of town after the boy was born. She was the only family I had left. Not sure where she's now. Ah, blazing. What was his sister's name? Wasn't it Kalisha? Hey, look. Can we pick it up? Is it theft? Selina Vertivo. Okay, let's see her soul. Or his. Oh, I don't know if it's a man or woman. It's also indistinct to me here. You see a woman emptying her satchel onto her bed, taking stock of her inventory. Potions, bandages, tinctures, and herbs are scattered throughout her room haphazardly. She bites her lip, head tilted to the side, considering. She begins to repack one item after another, careful deliberation undercut by shaking hands. Each item has a cleanly marked place, but no matter how she repacks it, she isn't satisfied. The shaking worsens as she empties it out once more, one hand held to her mouth. Tears eke from her eyes as she gives up all semblance of order and shoves everything she can in the satchel, grabbing it and running out of the bare house. Straightening her back, she walks to the docks, chin high, eyes hard and red. A gangly young elf offers his condolences, but she can't see him for the ocean ahead of her. She wanders the docks, offering her services as a doctor to any who will listen, anyone heading out on high tide. Less than an hour later, she watches her childhood disappear in the distance, a tiny speck of an island, and tries not to jump. Healer then. Storm Brightblade. Why is his character's name green? You see a group of young men standing around a makeshift practice target. This man stands in the middle of them, explaining the construction and use of a bow, so he is bowman. He holds it up, pointing out each part as he speaks about it and what it does, then walks away from the targets, telling them to remain where they are, and takes his place about 200 feet away. He carefully lines up his shot, explaining what he is doing as he does, and lets the arrow fly. It hits the target dead center, much to the surprise and delight of the boys near it. He smiles, walking towards the boys, talking about proper stance and how to most effectively hold a bow. A noise comes from the tree line near their practice venue, and he stops scanning the woods, a blue eye squinting against the sun. A shadow moves, making its way through the forest behind them. He draws an arrow and lines up the shot, carefully tracking the motion of the hidden creature. Losing the arrow, he wastes no time and quickly grabs another. The boys spin, watching the arrow fly into the forest, immediately lost among the trees. There is a sudden, explosive movement in the undergrowth as a deer erupts from the tree line, running across the edge of the clearing. The boys laugh, turning to joke with the man about his lousy shot. They stop talking, seeing him holding the bow and leading the deer with a nocked arrow. They drop to the ground as he loses his last arrow, which flies true and strikes the deer right behind its shoulder, piercing heart and lungs, dropping it dead almost immediately. The boys stare at the deer for a few seconds and then slowly turn to look at the man, newfound respect in their eyes. He smiles again and breathes a quiet sigh of relief. He's a good archer. I could hire him. I should hire him. Did you hear about our flood? Grab a drink, friend. Not much else of worth in this town. Says the woman from Thane. Hey, roaches scatter and flee under the crate. So many people here. Is this the dog? Oh, hello, Black Hound. This hound stares intently at the covered window, head cocked as if wanting to hear a particular sound. It looks up when you approach and whines a low note, with tail wagging slightly. Pet the dog. Okay. That was not exactly where I wanted to be. Why is here everything so ruined? Well, this must be one of the final rooms here. Colonial history. Hey, this is good. No other land has such a wild and bloody recent history. From colony to palatinate to free republic, Deerwood has undergone a trial by fire to emerge as powerful force of the Eastern Reach. Deerwood history actually begins in 2602. Adar explorers returned from a journey across the ocean with tales of the treasures they'd found. They discovered countless ruins scattered through the forest, as well as plains to the north of the trees that would be perfect for growing vorlas. There was a problem, however. The locals were hostile and there was potential for conflict. The Ferkoning Edir first king. The first king of Edir knew that this was too good an opportunity to pass up and spend some more explorers to scout and map the area. Exploration continued over the next 20 years. Small groups of explorers traveled back and forth between Edir and this new world, with a handful of colonists setting up small camps to establish a base for the explorers to work out of. Conflicts with the locals, who the Adirans learned called Glanfadens, were rare but frequent enough for the Ferkoning to send a small squadron of guards to help protect his citizens. These guards established a central base on a river in the western section of the woods. This settlement would eventually become the city of Deerwood, upon which the modern-day village of the same name is presently built. Once that base was established, the first permanent Adiran settlements began north and west of the Vale River. Over the next 3 years, thousands of Adirans made the trek from Adir to this new land. The Glenfadans, who seemed to revere the ruins scattered through the forest, caused a few problems with some of the settlements, especially those found near the ruins themselves. These were easily taken care of by the colonists with the help of the Imperial Guard. The Adrians, in order to further foothold in the area, reduced the cost of production and, in an attempt to keep the Glenfadan population under control, started making slaves out of any Glenfadans captured during the uprisings. This resulted in a great increase in tension between the two groups. With the population of the area growing, an official governmental structure was established by the Ferkoning. He appointed several earls to preside over the land and assigned them thanes to help run their territories, and they called them Grefram the Dirwood. The new Grefram the Dirwood. Okay, Dirwood remained the center of Imperial Guard, but the settlement Pearlwood Gulf, New Dunraid, was the true seat of the power of the area. Sitting at the edge of the ocean, forest, fertile farmland, and a river that runs from the coast to the White Marsh, settlers flocked to the area, hoping to establish names for themselves. Ader began to spread across the new land. Okay. I don't know whether you will get the chance to sell these books. If so, then we should keep them. I don't want his soul. I want somebody to talk to about my visions. That's what my journal says, right? Surviving explosion, I experienced a vision. Advised me to rest while I wait permanent. Yeah, maybe I should rest indeed. In guest. Hello, in guest. Please leave me. I'm full of sickness with what I've seen of this place. Okay. Maybe I'll have to camp outside then. Question is whether we can camp in the village. Who's this guy? Let's seek him out.
Were you looking for someone in that tree? I could introduce you.
Well, looking for anyone who can help me feel better. He gives understanding nod as he takes a long drag from his pipe. My condolences. Archer, keep out of trouble. Speak to Urgret if you're in need of instruction. Urgiet wears a twisted frown. I'm afraid I still can't help you find a residence here. Lord Raedric's son was deemed a hollow-born. This makes circumstances even more fraught than before. Yeah, you said something about Hollowborn and Waidwen's legacy before. That's the same guy with the nasty voice. But I need to know who is this Hollowborn. I forget that you foreigners do not have this curse in your homelands. The Hollowborn have been a scourge upon the Dirwood for almost 15 years now. It's children born without souls. He shakes his head. Pitiful, dumb things that breathe barely, but do not truly live. Some say the Hollowborn are a disease. Some say they are a punishment from the gods. He raises his empty hands. In truth, no one knows, but they began spreading after the Saints' War, and so the name of Waidwen's legacy stuck in honor of that foul, blasphemous pretender. The Saints' War. Our age's most egregious example of man's madness. 15 years ago, the people of Seras decided that Waidwen, their living saint, was the literal incarnation of the god Eothas. Urgid wrinkles his pinched nose. This supposed saint took it upon himself to liberate the Dirwood, supposedly from allegiances to less worthy gods, but we've never known an army to conquer a land for its people's own good. The war lasted about a year, but you can guess what that year did to the worship of Eothas in the Dirwood. Lord Raedric's forebears had all been Eothasians, but after his father fell defending us from those fanatics, he personally saw that the temple of Eothas here in town was shut down. Yeah, he points the ruined walls near the tree. Tell me about Lord Raedric. He comes from a line of nobles who have defended these lands since Aedar times. Raedric II was an early supporter of the Dirwoodan independence during the revolution, and the current lord's father perished in the Saints' War. The Hollowborn began appearing in the Dirwood shortly after the war's end. Okay. Lord Raedric has taken it upon himself to purge the curse from Gilded Vale. His measures have been severe but necessary. Unfortunately, it may not have been enough if the bells were an indication. I'd like to know more about Gilded Vale. We are a frontier village, as are most settlements in the Dirwood. Gilded Vale hasn't grown much since its establishment in the colonial days, and the last 15 years have seen our population shrink further. He takes in the ramshackle houses for offences, hence our recruitment for fresh settlers. Aloth snorts. Indeed. Well, tell me behind those ruins in the tree. Oh, actually, why it's been shrinking? I think he killed all those who claims to see souls, right? But let's let him ask. Waidwen's legacy, of course. Many women have had difficulty bearing healthy children of late. A few years ago, Lord Raedric decreed that no mothers of Hollowborn are to be allowed in Gilded Vale. Okay, his lordship dealt swiftly with the objectors. It may be harsh, but if it purges us from his curse, is it not worth it? Yeah, tell me about the ruins. That's what's left of the Temple of Eothas. His lips pucker. Lord Redrick forbade worship of the dead god after the Saints' War. It's been abandoned for almost 15 years, but there are plans to rededicate it to Berath, the god of life and death. Yeah, but here I say, before I got here I saw several people conducting a strange ceremony near some ruins. He regards you carefully. You'll want to mind where you mention that. Trespassing on Engwithen ruins is illegal, not to mention dangerous. You probably saw someone attempting some new ritual to appease the gods. People will try anything these days. Berath have mercy, we certainly have. Well, I don't think so. Just as they finished, there was a bivouac. Was there? Yeah, maybe it was a bivouac. He polishes his spectacles on his sleeve. If you'd been that close to a bivouac, you wouldn't be standing here.
Whatever your problem, it sounds like a matter for an animancer. However, the only animancer in Gilded Vale. But if you're...
Okay, I saw that. Can we go inside the temple? Ah, rising sun and 3 stars. I've seen this symbol. But I'm not ready for a dungeon. Hello, who's there? Wirtan. A man lies resting against the wall, but the dim illumination of the fading scones... lit by the dim illumination of the fading scones. He has a gaunt, fox-like aspect, and his face is pale and damped with sweat. One arm is held loosely against his side, sleeve soaked with blood. He gives you an anxious glance as you near. His features twisted in pain. Have a care, if you mean go in. He casts a quick look toward the doorway. This place is not so empty as I thought. This temple isn't what it used to be, probably for the best. Times being as they are. He groans and shifts position, wincing. I'm no looter, if that's what you're thinking. Not one of the faithful either. Just wanted to do some good, I suppose. Got my arm clawed up for it. He regards you warily. Maybe you'd have a better luck. Better luck with what? These ruins around us used to be a temple of Eothas, scattered god, a grand temple. His worshippers came from all until the war, of course. Even then you'd get some of the stubborn ones, the ones that couldn't get it through their heads that their god was dead and gone. Lord Redrick allowed them to worship? Lord Redrick would clear out the place from time to time and make arrests. It wasn't until the legacy that he started losing patience. He sent his guards in to put the priests to the sword, bring the place down, burn some of the books, and that was that. What's this legacy? The cause of the corpses in that tree, for starters. Okay, that's putting it in a might simple, but yes, indirectly. Sankt Waidwen's legacy. The man that housed the scattered god. A time. Lord Redrick fought in that one when they brought the god down. He had a celebration here in town. We thought things would never be better. Started sometime after that, the disease or whatever it is, children being born without the stuff that makes them truly alive, just empty shells and their mothers screaming and crying. It's destroyed us, Gilded Vale, I mean. The thinking is it's Waidwen having last laugh strikes me as a little petty, even for a dead god. But Lord Redrick believes it, that's all that matters. Once the legacy started, Lord Redrick decided he'd been too lenient on the Eothasians. He had his people go in and put them to the sword, left them down here, buried under a heap of rock. After that, Redrick ordered the temple to be sealed. It's been years like that, up until recently. Lord Redrick hopes that if we rededicate the temple to a living god, then we'll be forgiven and the legacy will end, see? But until then, the temple is, as you see it, unguarded. That's where you come in. Those priests, maybe they didn't have a lick of sense between them, but they still didn't deserve to go like that. Chopped down in their god's house. It doesn't sit right with me. If you can get down there, find their remains, maybe we can finally give them a proper burial. He says, no small task. There is coin in it too, if you need motivating. Okay. Aloth says, a pleasant surprise to see that someone around here has a shred of respect for the dead. Let's have some questions here. Won't Lord Redrick mind us digging around down here? I wouldn't go telling him about it. Lingering in these places is no good for anyone. But you do this quick and quiet, we can do right by those priests without raising fuss. Any chance there's something down there worth a little more than some old bones? Probably. Nobody's been through the place since it was sealed up. Well, apart from me, and I didn't touch anything. Any valuables in there, you get first crack at them. I only ask that you do this favor for me while you're at it. Well, who are you anyway? My name is Wirton. We lived in Gilded Vale long enough to remember how grand it used to be. I used to help the temple sometimes bring supplies, that's all. Okay, no more questions. We'll find them. Well, I take it you aren't supposed to be in here. Well, I meant to be in and out, nice and quick. I'm not hurting anyone, it's just Lord Redrick's forbidden anyone having anything to do with the scattered god. It'd be a little harder to explain to him than you. Okay, I'll find them. Then by the flame I owe you a good turn, but listen, the temple's been sealed off. For so long it's crawling with creatures, but if you get past them, the priests would have been down on the lower floor. They'll be there still if they're anywhere. Those priests had all kind of secret chambers, switches in the walls trick scones, that kind of thing. Keep an eye out and take care down there. I wouldn't want to have to send someone else after your remains. I'll wait here by the stairs and keep a lookout. Maybe try to patch myself up. Yeah. We will need to have a camp. I need to heal myself. I'm so exhausted. I wouldn't stand another fight as a child. This is going to be Berat's house now. Yeah, I guess it will be. Well, where can I camp? Can we camp here on the outside? Or is it allowed to camp here in the village? Not allowed in this area. Yeah, I thought so, I thought so. We need to get out of the village. Let's go north again, where we came from, and camp there. Maybe we can camp inside the temple. That's possible, probably, since that is not outside. No fireplace. Your sleep is restless and fevered, assaulted by hisses and whispers, blanketed with a suffocating anxiety. You open your eyes to awaken and find yourself in front of Gilded Vale's gallows tree, the creaking of its ropes growing louder in your mind until the sound is deafening. Hanging from the tree is an old dwarf woman whose face has shriveled inward like mouldering fruit. Her head hangs limply to one side. As you look at her, she looms larger and larger in your mind until she is mere inches from your face. Suddenly her head snaps up and her eyes open, and they are empty, and behind them is a vast nothingness that makes your stomach drop. Her mouth slowly parts, and with a gust of rancid air she speaks a word. Watcher. You jolt awake, the foul smell of the dwarf woman's breath still permeating your nostrils. Sweat runs down your face in thick droplets, and your skin is soaked from head to toe. You remember the woman. You remember seeing her decaying face when you spoke with the magistrate. He called her an animancer. Though it fills you with new, queasy apprehension, you feel a strange compulsion to see this woman once more, if only confirm she is truly dead. Well, if she is truly dead, she's still hanging there in the tree, right? Okay. I think we will begin this the exploration of this in the next session, since it's been 40 minutes now, and I'm running out of recording time again. But let me take another look at the people hanging in the tree. Although it's night here. Oh, look at this. That must be the dwarven woman. Caldera de Beranzi, the squat, distended body of an elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked bow that sags at the tug of her nose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the robe that suspends her, and her lifeless head totters forward rigidly from one side to the other when breeze shifts. You perceive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings, but there is a tepid warmth to it. You feel somehow that you could reach out and touch it, not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. Yeah, reach out for the woman. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spreading out toward the hanging woman, perceiving all that lies between you and her with a new, unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt to your mind, a ringing electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes and feel yourself being pulled down to some deeper consciousness in a space occupied only by you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, she is staring at you with eyes clouded in a milky fog. Her body is still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted. Her body is still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted in the misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the robe creaking as she does so, and she smiles at you.
Have you come here for me, dear, or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
I need to understand something that's happened to me. She nods, a look of pity on her face, as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there.
Yeah.
You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
What is a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I, though. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair, and here we are visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on, some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on, and those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either leaving or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them, know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies, see memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder.
What do you mean when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
Okay, she smiles at you reassuringly, fanning out a tuft of long whiskers that sprouts from one of her cheeks.
You should see old Merwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
We need to go to Kaidnua. Well, I think I survived a bivouac. Do you know why that would be?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me, no?
You said souls break apart over time.
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die and pick up pieces of others when we are born again, but less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. No. A very small few resist Rimergan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think.
How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
Well, am I then imagining this?
No, I think not. A pity that. It would be simpler. A mercy even. To not have to wander anymore, no? Alas, we are here, you and I. Wherever here may be.
I want to know something about you.
Me? I'll bore you to tears, though.
Who are you? Okay,
And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Baranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
What happened to you? She laughs, a rasping, choked cackle escaping between the rows of buttery yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down in each spasm. Seeing her blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now. Such a question. As though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance. A humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife, see why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months, looked high and low for impurities, tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found?
No, tell me.
Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord, she is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up.
Okay, what's an animancer exactly?
A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations, miracle workers. My parents were soul twins, miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other, turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. The suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion. The elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear.
All right, farewell.
Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Closes her eyes and her head slumps forward over the nose, and your surroundings seem to bleed into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Was granted Crucible of the Soul. Are you all right? You seem lost just now. Okay. I don't know whether I should expose myself to him. I'm fine for the moment. That's good to know, but I don't suppose you could tell me what was that about. Well, I'm a watcher then. Well, that's interesting. He gives you a sly grin, and I expect this has something to do with the hooded figures at the ruins. In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're traveling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about watchers? Only that they are rare and they seem to have unique insights into certain soul conditions, as you just demonstrated. Let's continue on. Alright, we need to stop this part here, otherwise I'll end up without the recording again. We'll continue in the next session. Thanks for watching. We'll go explore the temple there.